Hello everyone, I'm dropping a quick announcement that in 1 month's time, we're going to be kicking off the latest class on world building and costume design. These two subjects to me go absolutely hand in hand and are an invaluable skill set for any aspiring designer. World building and design has been my personal passion for almost a decade now, and I know that it carries a lot of mystique, a lot of confusion. What is world building? What does it actually look like to start the process of developing a world building project? What is it for? Who is it for? Why are we doing this? Well, when you're starting out, the most important thing to do is to just get into it. This is my opportunity, which I'm very grateful for, to share with you all that I know about costume design and all that I know about the world building process. These 4 weeks will give you the opportunity to develop your own unique personal taste, to strengthen and really empower the wealth of knowledge that you already have and learn how to deepen that well of knowledge in a rapid, efficient, and fun way. You will have ample opportunities to ask as many questions as you like and really get the answers you need to refine your process. We're going to be really pushing through a lot of the challenges that keep us from progressing to develop a bulletproof world building process, which, in my personal opinion, includes having fun. And it might seem like learning how to have fun is a bit of a redundancy, but I can tell you from experience that maintaining a sense of fun is essential to a long and prosperous art practice. I'm so excited to connect with all the participants who are taking this class. And now I'm going to hop into OBS and talk through the course in a little bit more of a casual manner for those who want a little bit more information. All right, what's going on, guys? We're here in face cam mode, and I'm going to be going through the course structure so that we can have a bit of a better idea of what we're going into for these 4 weeks in November. Okay, so this is the course page that you can refer to if you have any questions or you want to know more. So the first thing to acknowledge with this World Building with Costume Design course that's taking place this November, so next month in 2025, is that it's going to start on I believe the 3rd, the 4th. Let's check. Yeah, it's going to start on the 3rd. So the course will begin on Monday, the 3rd of November, and it will end on the 7th of December. There's going to be a little short break for American Thanksgiving, so that, there's no people being like, I can't make it to the lecture. I'm having dinner with my family. Dinner with your family? What is this? Some kind of world where people have dinner with their families? Probably gonna cut that out. Okay, so let's go through the first kind of wall of text here so you guys can have an idea of, my mentality going into this and why I'm even offering this workshop. So this is Advanced Costume Design for World Building, Illustration, and Concept Art. So costume design, an often overlooked and misunderstood element of world building, concept art, and illustration, holds tremendous power and untapped potential that can be the difference between your design being overlooked and seamlessly transporting your viewer into the world with success and depth. So gaining autonomy over the skill of costume design will give you the agency to overcome feeling stuck in your design process or world building project and unlock new ideas that will enrich and level up your ideas in ways you won't expect. So join me in a 4-week intensive course diving deep into the subject of costume from all angles of design across a total of 8 high-intensity assignments. So you're going to have a lot of assignments to do. You'll be challenged to execute technical ideas, understand narrative direction, and be pushed to produce a large volume of design work, which will set good habits in stone and pave the way for a more productive process for you and your projects. All sounds pretty good. You will have 12 total 2-hour lectures where you will be exposed to the ideas, processes, and knowledge you need to push your work to the next level. Listed below is an overview of the 4-week structure. So in week 1, we're going to be looking at story, coherence, and shape design. So these are kind of the foundational building blocks that I think of when I think about designing, usually with character, but even just world building in general. You want things to be coherent, you want the story to be strong, and you really want your sense of design to match that story and coherence. So we're going to be taking a closer look at fixing detrimental story mistakes. All the time I see in students' work and just, design work in general, a lot of incongruities that are going to make it impossible for the audience member to really buy into what you're doing, which is the most important thing, in my opinion, when you're doing design work. You really want the story to be clear. So we're going to look at examples of kind of successful, story design, and we're going to look at a lot of examples of mistakes. So you guys know kind of where to steer clear and kind of how to navigate that space. We're going to be building clear narratives and strong cases. So we want to set up expectations for our designs that really are working towards the goal of the project. Whatever that goal is, we want to be making sure that our designs are supporting that goal. So making sure that the audience has the right expectations for the design, and making sure the audience has the right assumptions about the design is really important. And that's both to kind of communicate what you want to communicate, or sometimes even set up for like a fun misdirect. You can only have a successful misdirect if you know how to direct to begin with. So what do the shapes mean? More than you think. So we're going to be doing a deep dive into shape design, which is my favorite subject. I think it's really fun. We're going to be going into my philosophy with shape and all of that fun stuff, which is cool. Improving our sense of appeal and flow, rhythm, and all of that stuff. So the assignment for week 1, we're going to compile 10 examples of successful costume design and break down why they are successful to the best of your ability. So this is going to be a really hard one right off the bat, because I'm going to ask you to find 10 of your favorite examples and really kind of break it down and write down and make notes on why you think it's doing a good job. This will activate areas of your brain that you maybe haven't activated yet, especially in your creative process, where you're going to start to understand what you think is important in design, what you think is a priority in design, which is huge. That's like a huge, it's like a threshold, before you start thinking that way and after you start thinking that way. So this will cross that threshold for you, get you thinking in that zone. And then using just black and white, we're going to design 10 characters whose story and purpose is clear. So again, kind of looking at these detrimental story mistakes, looking at building clear narratives, using shape. We're going to use everything we learned to design 10 characters. I know it's a big ask to design 10 characters in just a few days, but I've given a lot of assignments that have a really intense volume. People are always like, how am I going to do it? But everybody does it, and this is a great opportunity, again, to push yourself, producing a high volume of work that will really force you through and kind of burn away all of the bad habits you have and get you to the essence of what you want to be doing. So that's week 1, story, coherence, and shape design. Week 2, we're going to be looking at some very practical elements that, again, it's not that it's overlooked, but I feel like these kind of practical elements are oftentimes seen as the boogeyman. So for instance, we're going to be looking at structure, material, and how to lay form on the body. And people get really caught up in that last one, like how to actually put clothes on a character. It sounds like it's simple, but when you try it, it's really hard. So we're going to be looking at a lot of examples, again, of this done very successfully, and we're going to develop some systematic processes and ways in which you can very easily, very quickly lay form on the body. So to be specific, we're going to be breaking through fundamental gaps in knowledge. So looking at a lot of technical drawing techniques, looking at a lot of, again, like higher level draftsmanship, going for specificity, and taking into consideration a lot more than we have before. And that looks like taking into consideration materials, gravity, weight, all of that stuff. And this kind of comes in on the next areas as well. So materials, are they really that challenging? Not really. Materials aren't that hard. If you have a character and they're clad in shiny metal and dirty leather and, frayed cloth, there are ways to capture the essence of those materials with just some theory and some knowledge. And it's not crazy complicated and kind of insane. It's actually quite simple. So we're going to be looking at materials and really demystifying the process of designing with materials. We're going to be going through understanding volumes, forms, and stress on the figure. So stress on the figure, I'm sure you guys have seen really great drawings where there's a lot of intense posing and the sense of material or the sense of the tangible. I'm sure you guys have seen many examples of characters that in their poses, it feels so grounded and real, and it feels like what they're holding is really, pressing on their hands, and they're really holding a heavy basket. It's not just all this kind of make-believe thing that, is on paper. It really feels like it's real. So stress on the figure is something we're going to take a close look at, and we're going to learn how to be using much better references for the designs that we do. And again, going back and really understanding how like forms and volumes come into play here. So the assignment is going to be, again, very technical for the first part. We're going to be breaking down the structure of 10 articles of clothing. So you're going to look throughout history, throughout your interests. You're going to take some articles of clothing, complex or simple, and you're going to break down how they're constructed, all of that stuff. And you're going to make notes on certain key functions. If part of it is lace, maybe you're going to make a notation of this is lace. This is how lace works. This is how light interacts with lace, whatever you want to do there. Again, breaking down 10 things, very challenging. The follow-up assignment is going to be taking one character and sketching them in the prior chosen 10 articles of clothing. So in those 10 articles that you choose, which you're going to be choosing a very diverse range. You're not going to be doing like 10 different hoodies. You're going to be doing very different things. You're going to be taking a character base that you design, and you're going to be dressing them in each of these articles of clothing. Not all at once, like kind of you're going to take those articles of clothing and use them as like a key base to design that character. And the purpose of this, aside from just being very challenging, and it's going to really push you to really level up the way that you draw and design, aside from being really hard, which is always good to do very hard things. Aside from that, it's going to, again, connect how important costume is to the character's storytelling and the character's story overall. So when you take a base character and you start putting them in these different articles of clothing, you're going to notice yourself making subtle changes and subtle adjustments to the character that kind of align them with this thing that they're wearing. And it's going to be a really fun opportunity for you to, again, explore specificity in a very challenging and, I would say quite a high level way. So it's going to be hard. Week 3 is going to go into some really important subjects. Most notably, it's going to go into research. So we're going to look at it kind of, again, building off of what we learned in week 2, when we're actually like looking at different articles of clothing and all of that stuff. We're going to visit research in a very in-depth way, specifically with kind of practical research, how to understand something, but also we're going to look at historical influence. How do you actually implement historical influence into your work? This involves getting a very complete picture of the historical influencer. I included down here, so we'll talk about it in just a sec. And then we're going to get into world building from scratch. So this is why most of you guys are going to be jumping in the class. You want to get good at world building. So we're going to be looking at world building from nothing, start from scratch, from zero. How do you actually start? How do you actually get kicked off? I get so many messages of people going, how do I start? How do I start? I have this idea. It's this, and this, but how do I do it? It's like, well, we're going to be getting into that, how you actually start. So again, the specifics of what we're going into in week 3 is conquering research without overwhelm. This is super key. So every time people start thinking about research, it feels like they are like locked in a prison. They're like, oh no, now I have to include the 5 million things I just looked up. It's like, no, you don't, man. No, you don't. So we're going to learn how to prioritize what's important and actually figure out what the most important information in what you're researching actually is, and how to set that aside and make that useful for yourself. And then we're going to be looking at building a complete historical understanding. Context is everything. This is maybe one of the most important lectures of the entire course. So building a complete historical understanding, what that looks like, to give you guys a taster or to kind of simplify it a little bit. Of course, we're going to go super in depth in the lecture. So to kind of contextualize it a little bit is going to be looking at it from the perspective of you want to know the restrictions of that time. So for instance, if you're researching something very specific like a sword or something, you have to take into consideration the materials they had at that time, how they're actually making that thing, who's going to be the people who own that thing, why they're owning that thing. You're going to be looking at the, sociology of that era and that region. You're going to be taking into consideration the spiritual beliefs, the mythological beliefs of that time, that era, that place. And by taking all of those things into consideration, it sounds like you're overcomplicating things, but you're actually simplifying things because you're understanding that all these different elements have to exist in order to create this one specific thing. Whenever you are on Pinterest and you find a really cool object, something crazy, you're like, how does this exist? It exists because of the context of its historical era. So you have to know all the different elements that come into play to kind of formate or allow for the formation of that thing. And that's huge when it comes to costume and dress. It's like the most important thing. And when you're world building, all the characters in your world are going to be wearing clothes. It's like one of the most important things that you have to kind of learn about and sort of, develop a skill, and you have to develop a skill for it. And we're also going to be looking at the concept of true originality and the pitfalls of chasing it. I'll leave that one a little bit, obscure because it's a really fun lecture and it's very empowering, I'll say. So the assignment for week 3 is going to be choosing 3 eras of clothing. So again, looking at these historical times, you can do very broad stuff or very specific. So it can be like, the 1924 when they introduced this one kind of dress. Like you can look like very specific, or you can say, Japan in the Edo period, and you can just kind of look at that. And you're going to research both the era and the clothing using the skills you learn in week 2 and, the skills you learn in week 3. So you're going to be researching different eras that you find interesting. And you're going to be looking at the, again, cultural background and cultural context, and also the practical elements of the dress of that time. This is going to result in 6 total pages of notes and sketches. Again, the quality of which is kind of like sliding scale. You go as hard as you want to go, but I'll tell you, man, the people who really deliver and really go hard on this stuff, they get a lot of gains, man, I'll tell you. The second assignment of this week is going to be using your notes. You're going to design 6 pages of world building sketches and designs that explores your interests and passions in a fun and carefree way. So again, that's going to tie in a lot of the lecture 3 here, true originality and the pitfalls of chasing it. It's going to come into play in the second assignment. The idea of designing 6 pages of world building sketches and designs sounds crazy, but it's not crazy. And you're going to see how easy it actually is when we start to get in the zone and we start to focus in. So this is where things are going to start to gel and mesh. And then in week 4, we're going to be developing a bulletproof world building process. So how to never get stuck ever, always have the next step to do, and always be able to readjust and pivot and change and cut away and add new stuff. And also have fun and drawing. So you're going to be learning how to have fun, and you're going to be focusing on drawing specifically. So the lectures are going to be how to think without thinking. So we're going to really do a deep dive on the flow state, how to step in and kind of lock into the flow state. Everyone has their different philosophy. I have mine. I'll teach you mine, and you can adapt it and make it fit for you. And then also we're going to be managing large projects and setting goals. So how do you manage large projects? How do you set reasonable goals? How do you make this stuff happen? We're going to be getting really deep into that, which is going to be great. And we're going to be talking about getting good. So in all of my classes, I want to make sure that everybody feels empowered in the way that they know what to do to improve. So you will not leave this class without knowing how to get better. You will have direction. Not only will you improve throughout the course, but you will learn how to actually get good, like for real. So the assignment And this is going to be a very fun last week of the class, of the assignment. So look over the provided style guide for a group world building project. I've been kind of pioneering this in the last couple classes that I've done, where the end is kind of a collaborative world building project where everyone works on the same project together. So we're all going to be working on the same project, which I will prepare for you. No spoilers. It's going to be cool. So we're all going to work on the same world building project for this week, for week 4. And you're going to start to list narrative opportunities that excite you. So again, you're looking for the things that jump out at you. You're looking for opportunities within the scope of the project, which is going to be a skill that you pick up during the class. And you're going to use these ideas to explore, again, using the first week's lesson, black and white character sketches set in the provided world. So you're going to use that skill of just putting simple, effective, powerful sketches down that you're going to be able to explore and refine. And this will require all the skills you learned throughout the course so far. So the second part is going to be working as a group. You're going to be consulting, bouncing ideas off each other. You're going to be talking. We're going to be having a lot of fun sketch sessions during this week. And you're going to develop your own character design with a focus on costume. So you're going to make sure that the costume is definitely the thing you're trying to perfect here. But of course, the whole design is important, obviously. So working as a group to consult and bounce ideas around, you're going to develop your own character design with a focus on costume and narrative set in the provided world building project. So this is cool. And what's fun is that, at the end of it, everybody can kind of post and sort of like tag the same project. So along with your peers, you could be like putting out and sharing this stuff like, hey, I worked on this project. This is cool. I'll be posting some stuff as well. It'll be a fun time. So logistics. Right? And this is after we kind of look at the whole thing, right? So 4 weeks, super dense, super dense. Logistics info. The course will begin on Monday the 3rd, which we covered in the beginning, and it will end on the 7th of December. We're going to have a short break for American Thanksgiving, obviously. So the lectures are going to be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So 3 times a week. Pretty cool. And the assignments will be given on Monday and Wednesday. So there's like always kind of a 2-parter in terms of the assignments. So usually in between Monday, Tuesday, you're going to be working on the first 2 ones. And then on Wednesday to Saturday, you're going to be working on the main assignment, which is the harder one. And feedback will take place all day on Sundays. And we're going to use a time slot system, which you guys will kind of be locked into. The community hub will be in a Discord server made specifically for this course. So I'm going to make a server. I'm going to invite everyone to it. You guys will all join. That's where you can post your assignments, ask additional questions, and kind of just engage with each other in a cool way. So that's going to be popping up in about a week time. I usually kind of open the Discord about 2 weeks before start. So in about a week's time, we'll probably open that up. In terms of pricing, the standard, just kind of like if you want to just get a spot in the course and be there for all the lectures and do the project and everything, it's only $50 a week. It's set at $200, $200 US. So when you think about it, you're getting 12 lectures. In my opinion, it is a steal at the standard admission. If you want in-depth feedback from me, we're going to up it a little bit. It's around $450. So there's only a few spots left for the feedback tier. And again, feedback will take place on Sundays. It'll be all day. And by the way, all of these lectures are going to be recorded and you will have access to them in perpetuity. So everything will be recorded. You'll have access to all of the lectures forever, and all the feedback sessions too, regardless of if you get whichever tier. So yeah, guys, that's kind of the price breakdown. And I've even set up a installment system. So I normally don't do this, but in Gumroad here, they allow you to break things up into 4 installments. So you can see that for either kind of tier, you can do it. You can break it up into 4 payments if you want to. That was I got a lot of feedback on that people were like, I want to do it, but I can't do it all at once. So I set up the kind of installment method here to make that easier for you guys. Okay, cool. So I'm really excited for this class. This is going to be super fun. It's going to be 4 weeks of just high intensity learning in my favorite subject, which is costume design and world building. It's like my favorite thing ever. I'm so excited to be doing this. So if you guys have any questions, you can reach out to me, by whatever means you want. You can DM me on Instagram, or there's I think an email listed here on the site that you can kind of reach out to, I'm pretty sure. There's but just Instagram is, I think, good. So there's a link there at the bottom of the page. But yeah, the link will be in the description. You guys can go check out the Gumroad page and sign up for the class if you want to. I'm really excited for this one. Thank you guys for taking the time to watch this breakdown, and I'm super excited to see you in the course. All right, take care, everybody.